WIBTA if I told my parents I know I'm adopted? Hey people. This is a long story, but I'm going to try and condense it as much as possible. Basically about 9 weeks ago my maternal cousin and I both completed an ancestral/DNA test through one of the popular brands. My parents are very against these DNA tests, I thought, because they don't like the idea of giving your DNA to these companies and so have forbidden me from doing them in the past when I brought up the idea. Though, I now know the real reason they were against me doing it. My cousin, James, got his results first and matched with loads of people saying my mother's maiden name, as well as other names known within my mother's family line. I got my results about a week later and not only did I not match with my cousin, I didn't match with any of my cousin's matches nor did anyone share my mother's maiden name. My dad, and I, have an extremely common surname in my country, think Smith, and I did match with a few people who shared that name but none were close matches, third to fourth cousins being the closest. So I'm just assuming it was because it's a common surname. James' family know he's done the DNA test and he's shared the results, however I have asked him to keep what he knows about mine between us for a while. I learned this about 2 weeks ago and have since come to the conclusion that I am adopted. At first this made me feel really upset, and I thought maybe the DNA tests were faulty, but after researching, no, I don't think they are. I think I am just adopted. I have 2 younger brothers who are 11 and 9 who aren't adopted because I remember my mom being pregnant with them. So I can't understand why I was adopted. I want to tell my parents no about being adopted. I want to in some ways confront them and ask why they've lied to me for so long. But I also want to say I still consider them my only family. James thinks it's a really bad idea. He says I should just keep it to myself because if I tell my parents I know I'm adopted it could have negative consequences on my relationship with my parents and also could get him into trouble with his parents because he bought me the DNA test and he is very close to my parents. I've said I'll just tell them I bought the test myself, but he says they'll know because he got his test so recently. WIBTA if I ignored my cousin and confronted my parents about me being adopted anyway? Update 1. In the past I've spoken about wanting to do one of those ancestry and DNA at home tests, but my parents, or who I thought were my parents, were always against them. They told me because they don't trust those companies with your DNA, but I obviously know the real reason now. A while ago my cousin and I decided to buy a test each and I completed mine in secret. I was shocked when not only did I not match with him when we got the results, I didn't match with anyone who shared a surname with any of my family, except for some matches that shared my dad's surname, but this is an extremely common surname in my country. Think Smith for the USA. I thought perhaps the test was faulty or wrong, but after some researching I had my doubts that the test was faulty. But just in case I decided to do a second test, with a different company, just in case the first one was somehow wrong. This time I bought 3 tests. One I gave to my paternal uncle, he's actually only a few years older than me despite being my uncle, and one I gave to my maternal cousin, and the last one I did myself. We sent them all off and we got our results surprisingly quickly, about 10 days after we sent them off, yesterday night. But these tests confirmed my suspicions, I'm not related to my family. And even more, I matched with a woman, 49.8% DNA match, predicted parent/child. Looked on her profile and she was born in 1991, meaning she would have been 15/16-ish when I was born. She hasn't been active on the app for over 6 months. I've written out messages to her to send and then deleted them. I've contemplated just saying hello, but haven't had the courage to actually send it off. I also could just turn off matches and make my profile invisible, that way she wouldn't see me if she logged back in again. I could pretend she doesn't exist and that I never found this out. I have another mom out there that I know nothing about, it makes me feel so anxiously curious. My parents never told me I was adopted, I feel utterly betrayed by them. I've resisted the urge to confront them about it since I got the results back from the first test, but now I know for certain I just want to smash my fists into a wall. I want to scream at them. I hate that they've kept this from me for my entire life. Now the only people who know I know is my uncle and my cousin. I trust that they won't say anything to anyone until I've spoken to people about it. I feel so lost and confused. Should I message my biological mom? Or pretend she doesn't exist and turn my profile invisible from her? Update 2. Hey people. A lot has happened to me since my last post here, and before I start to explain I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who commented/replied to my OP. It was really helpful and I truly appreciate it. For full context read the other posts on my profile which discuss this situation further. First things first, I decided to turn my profile private/invisible. I didn't want my biological mom, BM, to see that I had done a DNA test as an invitation to message me. I looked at her profile one last time and it still said, last online 6 months ago, or something like that, so she obviously doesn't check the app regularly. I wrote down information about her, first and last name, birth year, past family names, in case in the future I lose access to the account or if I want to try to track her down and her account disappeared. Though I am hoping that if I do decide to have contact with her in the future, I will just be able to message her on the app. But just in case. I confronted my parents about what I had found out. There was a lot of crying. Especially from my mom, but also from me. I told them how hurt I was that they never told me, and how much it has caused pain and anxiety to find this out on my own and feeling like I was unable to ask them about it. They apologized to me. They explained to me that they wanted to tell me. They planned on doing it when I turned 8, but they couldn't go through with it because they didn't want to hurt me. They said every year they planned to tell me and every year they put it off. They told me they did it out of love for me, but also out of anxiety that it would change our relationship for the worse. I explained to them that even if them telling me that I was adopted did hurt me as a child, I would have had them there to support me through it. And that now I had found out on my own and felt like I didn't have anyone there to understand what I was going through. They took responsibility for not telling me and for the hurt it caused when I was now. We hugged, we cried, and we forgave each other. Even though I don't agree with them not telling me, I can understand their feelings and why they found it so difficult when I was younger. After we had finished talking about it, they asked me what I wanted moving forward, if I wanted to tell my brothers that I was adopted or just carrying on like nothing happened. I said I no longer wanted it to be a secret and that I wanted them to tell my brothers what they should have told me. I didn't want it to seem like a dirty secret, but simply a fact of who I am and where I came from. I want it to be something celebrated, not feared to be talked about. I wasn't born into this family, but this is my family. And I feel so blessed that I was given the opportunity to become part of this family. I asked what they knew about my BM. They said not much. They know that she was in foster care when she fell pregnant with me, and that she would have only been 14/15 at the time. She decided she didn't want to keep me but didn't want to have a termination, and so I was put up for adoption, and that she requested no contact with me. I hope that the situation around my birth wasn't traumatic for her. I know this is a weird thought, but I hope she just got pregnant with me from another person her own age and that I wasn't a product of any abuse. That makes me sad to think about. Sorry for the long post. Again, thank you all for the help and advice you all gave me. I appreciate everything.